men speaking in the city square, trying to tell somebody that he cares. Can you blame the voice of youth for asking what is true? Yeah, the ones that you're calling wild are gonna be the leaders in a little while. When will the lonely voice of youth cry, what is true? This our world's waking to a newborn babe, and I solemnly swear it'll be their way. You better help that voice of youth find what is true. And the lonely voice of youth cries, what is true?
Just listen to that song once a week is fantastic. I love that too, and it's great. So blessed to have such wonderful people do wonderful things for me, even if they flake out and leave afterwards. That's fine. Um, happens on the internet a lot more on the internet than in person. Although happens a lot in person too. Couldn't really prepare anything this week because it's just too much going on. There's too much going on. It's not to say I don't have a page of notes because I do, but there's no real theme because everything is topsy turvy. Everything is completely topsy turvy. Things are all over the place. People are going completely nuts. And it's hard out there because a lot of people who had, we'll say, predictive systems going on have found out their predictions are wrong about everything again, for the billionth time. They're not catching on though. They're not like, oh, I need to make a big adjustment. They're still trying to make, well, it must be ancient alien style adjustments. Instead of just realizing, no, you're just wrong about the world. That's all. It's not that hard. Like, just chillax. Maybe you're not good at this. Do something else. It's fine. Like, grow a bean. You'll be fine. So yeah, it's getting crazier out there. But we're here now. We won't have a stream next week. Obviously, Thanksgiving. I'll be on the road, so I won't even remotely be around. Gotta go see the fam. So the 28th, no stream. But we'll have one on the 5th. And the 5th's going to be a big day for me because I'm going to do 2 videos on the 5th, and one of them is going to be my live stream. So you can look forward to that. I'm not going to give it away. I got another stream coming up with 2 more Vs at some point as well, so you can look for that if you like music and talking music. So he reached out to me, and I was supposed to get back to him sooner, and we would have done a stream already, but I screwed up. So doesn't matter. Now I got my Sam Pal, right? Got the Muppet Cup. Have you considered? This is important. You should consider. Got a bunch of Sam Pell in there, of course. I got one of my pirate mugs. Very piratey. You can tell because there's a pirate skull. It's made of pirate skull. And then I've got my captain's mug. So I gotta get out to Table Rock and get some more Table Rock tea. I haven't done that. It's a long day. That's longer than going to the beach. So yeah. Anselman taking a little weak tea as a nightcap. Can't stay long. Oh, bummer. Well, that's all right. You won't miss much, although I am going to indict the entire United Kingdom. So you'll miss that. It'll be in the beginning. Don't worry. Yeah, let's grab some of our favorite little tome here. Right? Little Nassim Nicholas Taleb. Because he always has great stuff. And we'll just turn to like a random page. For the robust, an error is information. For the fragile, an error is an error. Boy, that just works so well with the theme here. Keep that one in mind. I don't know how this happens, but yeah. So really what you're seeing is bubbles popping all over the place. You're seeing people who are in their bubbles, comfortably in their bubbles, being able to make the assumptions of their bubbles and having all the people in their bubble agree with them, or at least enough of them, right? That it's those guys out there. It's not us in here, it's those guys out there. And we know what's going on. And that's why they're freaking out. People freaking out left, right, and center. And there's a lot more sort of battles going on and accusations flying and all the rest of it. Right. And the fact that we live in bubbles and we have to live in bubbles, and those bubbles are to some extent catered to us, right? Because we're part of them. That's why equality is bad. It's a terribly, horrifically bad idea. It's a terrible idea. Democracy, which is an equality doctrine, right? It doesn't work. And trying to force these things is low IQ. It means you don't understand the world. You have the highest IQ in the world, but you just don't get it. Why do you even want everybody to be equal? That would be inefficient. And how would you tell one thing from another? And we're suffering from a case of people not being able to tell one thing from another. Can't tell good from bad. They can't do it. You can't explain things to them because they're so invested in their bubble, which is part of their ego at the end of the day. I mean, imagine living in a world where there are a bunch of people upset because the president recapitulated something your legal code states rather clearly. It's not Trump you're mad at. It's your own ignorance and stupidity. Okay. The legal code says what it says. If the president restates this and you flip out, you are the entire problem. No, really. Like, cut it out. What is wrong with your brain? Why are you like this? And that's the problem when you're freaking out about things that you can just look up and realize, oh, that's absolutely correct. Or, oh, yeah, that's absolutely wrong. There's no supporting evidence for this. Why are you freaking out? Why are you mad at somebody else who knew that when you didn't? You should revere them for being smarter than you. Oh, but you don't really believe that. You only believe that when it's convenient for you because you're the smartest person in the room, or at least you think you are. And what we have is a bunch of really stupid people who at once see that people will not draw logical conclusions from information they've been given, from truth that's been set forward, right? Of what they even state they believe to be true, but hold on to this idea that somehow telling other people or showing other people or educating other people will fix it. You don't even act that way yourself. They don't have a solution for liars because they believe in the power of propositions and dislike the use of force. Might doesn't make right, but it's the only way to ensure it at the end of the day. Sorry. And the thing is, we don't even see how large this problem is. Let me tell you how there is an inability of the folks in the UK to understand morals. Now, I'm not saying they don't know what morals are. I'm not saying they don't have any morals. I'm saying there's no chance of them ever understanding morals, period, as a concept. I mean that technically, and I have the proof. They are entirely excluded from this conversation. I posted this on the Discord server. First one I posted on a wrong channel, but whatever. Posted in What Are You Up To? Effectively, I'm listening to a conversation. And what happened was the following. And now this blends in with the fall of the Fourth Estate. The Fourth Estate is technically a British term, an English term, right? Whenever you think the Fourth Estate fell in the United States is one thing, but it certainly fell in Britain. And it fell big. And no one noticed at the time either. Here's the story. This guy just released this book. It's basically about the BBC causing the death of Princess Diana. And you know what? He lays out a pretty interesting case, very compelling. The reason why he thinks this is true is because there's a guy named Martin Bashir, famous journalist. wasn't famous when he first started. No one ever is. The way he got famous was he landed an interview with Princess Diana. And instead of asking the obvious question of this guy's a nobody, he just got here at the BBC. How's he able to land this person who's famously never giving interviews to the press of any kind? That would have been the right thing to wonder about. It turns out what happened was Martin Bashir went to their graphics design department and had a document forged knowingly. The interesting thing is, according to the author of this book, the guy who forged it said, "Oh, well, this is for, I think it's Panorama or something, their journalistic series, and therefore the fact that he was putting down something that he knew wasn't real because he was creating it, right? So let's just be clear about how the world works here, right? So like if you have a blank piece of paper and you make it look like another piece of paper, whether it's accurate or not, that's still a forgery of the original, period, end of statement's forgery, period. Now, if you don't have the original document that contains the exact same information and text and all that on it, then you don't know that you're not committing fraud, right? There's no way for you to know that. Okay. So that's the original sin. Let's just be clear about that. You're forging a document, period, end of statement. That set of documents that was forged was taken to Diana's brother, who was in the media, I guess, and famously would just block everything. And on the basis of that, he said, "No, no, you got to have an interview with this guy," because Bashir said, "No, I have more information, but I'm not going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to her if she gives me this interview. And it won't be part of the interview, but it'll be interesting information." And so he has another set of documents forged. And when the graphics designer who did this saw the interview with Diana, he realized his documents were being used, and he called the BBC and said, like, "Well, like we like drew those up. Those aren't real documents. It sounds like you can't tell, right? Because they're not shown on screen or anything, but like sounds like he's using the information from those forged documents in this interview and to get the interview." And the guy was very uncomfortable with this because he realized, of course, he had been duped. He thought that he was doing documents that would ultimately lead to the good or something. Okay. A bad act does not ultimately lead to the good. I know the whole biblical, well, God could, yeah, he could. It doesn't mean he gonna, could turn it to the good. That doesn't mean he's gonna. And who are you to force him to do that? Like what's going on, right? Like, so no, don't make badness in the world because it could turn out good. That's not how that works at all. Just people are confused about this for real, so just figured I'd let you know. The thing is, the BBC not only doesn't see anything wrong with this, they keep covering it up long after it's a viable strategy. So it's cover up of the cover up of the cover up. And they're just lying their whole way through this since the mid 90s because it was known at the time. And the thing is, the two people in the interview that are chatting away, it's the Heretics channel, I think on YouTube. They're chatting away. They're having this discussion about forgery. It's the most remarkable discussion I've ever heard. Like, you've got to be kidding me. Like you can have a discussion like that, but good Lord, do it in private. Are you kidding me? You're going to show the utter moral incapability and incompetence that you have on YouTube? Wow, dude. That's a bold move. That's a bold move. The discussion was, well, if I have somebody forge a 20-pound note and I don't show it to anybody, then it's okay because I haven't used it. The problem with this is that they've already outlined the case for the bad effect. I mean, this author is claiming that Princess Diana was killed because of a forgery that Martin Bashir did to get interviews. to become a journalist. That's his thesis in the book, according to him. Among other people, Michael Jackson too, very mysterious, right? They get paranoid right after these interviews. And then given what we know the forged documents said, well, no wonder why they were paranoid. And it's not like they had no other reasons other than the forgery to be paranoid, fair enough, but also like, that didn't help. So you have an innocent forger that they have already previously established is an innocent forger. And then a forgery is used to seemingly, according to them, cause a death. And then their argument is about, well, it's okay to have the forgery in existence because as long as you don't use it, you've invalidated your own argument before your argument began, and you can't see that either. Do you have more than two brain cells? Because now I've got to wonder. We're not even talking about first order logic. We're talking about very basic first order logic has been violated here pretty seriously. So these people can't be in on a moral conversation. They can't do basic first order logic. You're done. You're done. You shouldn't be arguing anybody with about anything. Like period. Like rocks have it over on you at this point. This is stunning. I'm just watching this hour-long thing like what the hell is happening? And he did another interview. I might watch the whole series. I don't think I will, but he did another one with another journalist. It's the same sort of thing. I'm like, you people don't understand any of this, clearly. And then they're having a conversation about, well, there's no statute of limitations in England on forgery. And Martin Bashir's still alive. And they have the evidence that this was done, that this happened. Why isn't he in jail? Well, that's a good question. So he's despiting laws that seem to have gotten somebody killed. He's not in prison right now? And there's a legal ground to take him there? What are we doing? What we can't have a society if this is how things are going to work. Like, period. End of statement. It's not going to work. It's not happening. And there's a fundamental difference, which I don't think people get, between a lie that you tell. So I can tell you, well, I heard Trump and she said she's going to kill all the Democrats because they've all committed treason. Obviously, you didn't say that, right? And me presenting a document or even a screenshot with a tweet that says that. Those are two fundamentally different things. One is an opinion coming entirely from me with no, let's say, evidence outside of my words. My words are not evidence, by the way, but just in case I have to make that clear for the autistic retards, because also, right, I'll make it clear. Okay. When you present something that isn't you and that, ostensibly you wouldn't have done because you shouldn't, right? Just flat out, right? That's a whole different level. We're not talking about a lie anymore. We're talking about a much more severe thing. That's why it's a form of fraud, technically, legally. Me lying is not a form of fraud, necessarily. But me presenting something outside of my own voice, that's fraud. Unless it's, something that isn't fraud because it actually exists elsewhere, right? These are different things. These people, we're never going to get to that level of nuance with them. I mean, they're out of the game already. They already don't understand that the original sin, the original bad act, is the forgery. That's why it's called forgery. It's 0% hard. Like, it's all built in. Like, how did you get this wrong? And they got it horribly wrong. So you think that Epstein file release is going to do something? Look at what the BBC just did. The BBC recut a video of Trump's speech, which I did not know, because they were very cagely, again, characterizing this as a misquote. Okay, you misquoted the guy. Maybe you put his words on a page in the wrong order or whatever, added a word or subtracted a word. Okay. I mean, that's worse than merely giving your opinion and lying about it. But it's not recutting a video worse. That's way worse. Because now you're not reproducing something as a reproduction. You're putting something forward as a true and accurate independent representation of what happened. That's next level. That's what they did. And the thing is, the BBC is the authoritative news source for every place that isn't the United States. And so I go to Ireland, as I've mentioned, and a man from Cork confronts us and tells me about my own country. 7 children a day die from accidental gunshots in the US, which is ridiculous. It's insane. What a ridiculous thing to say. It's probably not 7 a year. Where did he get that from? Probably the BBC. Because apparently they're willing to say anything at any time about anyone and back it up with complete fabrications, including fabricated video, just so that they're right about something. This is bad. But you think the Epstein release is going to do something? The grooming gangs were going on for 30 years in the United Kingdom, and they're still being excused. They're still being waved away by some of their politicians. They're still being trivialized and lied about. What do you think they're going to do about a handful of elites who may or may not have done anything other than talk to the guy? Much less the fact that those who did participate didn't break any laws. Very sorry that you don't understand the law. There's no federal age of consent in the United States. If you were in a federal territory, suppose an island, there's no age of consent law. It doesn't exist. I'm sorry. Just we have a 2-tiered legal system. If it's indeed a legal system, I guess it's a 2-tiered governance system with 2 tiers of laws, right, that overlap in many cases. I know it's immoral, unethical, bad, wrong, and evil, but it's not illegal. There's lots of things that have that quality. We better get used to it. Law does not resolve morals. It was not designed to resolve morals. And this brings me to a larger point, which, I wish wasn't a larger point, but I guess this is where we are. No one understands principle anymore. We have principle confused with legality. Law has utility outside of principles or morals or really anything. Law has an independent set of utilitarian reasons and values associated with it. Law is there to facilitate social cohesion and guarantee that certain things happen so that that cohesion can remain more fair than not. And law facilitates trade, independent of social cohesion. Period. It doesn't have any other utility. It's not a moral or ethical guide for your life. It just isn't. It's not supposed to function that way. Maybe it's supposed to be informed by that. Fair enough. But morals and ethics are above the law. They're bigger than the law cannot contain them. And so when you see the pattern of people using the law to excuse behavior, like, well, I have a 20-pound note forged, but I don't use it, it's okay. No, it's not okay. Legal or illegal, it's still not okay. Because someone could use it to get Princess Diana killed, you moron, which was your thesis before you started that little exploration. Clearly, you don't understand principle. The principle is important. You don't create fake things in the world because Maybe you won't use them badly, but maybe somebody else will. This is the very discussion they're having about AI, or one of the many very discussions they're having about AI. Sure, maybe Elon Musk is the benevolent dictator for life type. Maybe, I guess. I guess you could kind of believe that somehow if you're really kind of slow. But he's not going to live forever. If you consolidate power and then you die, you create a power vacuum. Like, buy a history book. This isn't that hard. Just one once ever. Like, actually, you create something in the world, especially a consolidation. When it blows up, and it will, it's going to create a vacuum. Something's going to fill that vacuum. Now, if you have a clear line of succession and you're very lucky, maybe it'll be fine. But if you create the AI monster, the odds that somebody who wants that power so that they can abuse it will find a way to get it are pretty much 100%. That's the story of the 20th century. For real. And the thing is, there's a hierarchy of severity or a hierarchy of issues. This relevance realization, or at least part of it, that John Vervaeke talks about. Importance has been lost to the shortened attention span problem. In my chat with Mathieu Peugeot, which looks like we're going to get 7,000 views on that video. Amazing. Thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate it. We talked about whether or not there's a memory of importance that is being manipulated. And I'm still up in the air about this framework. I got to think about it more, but I'm thinking about it. It's an interesting thesis that there's a memory of importance, and that's what they're manipulating. And, I sort of think, well, you can just do most of that with short attention span theater here, but it's going to take some more working out. It's an interesting idea. And things are so bad. Like, the world is so screwed up that people don't realize calling people names for making true statements has a boomerang impact. Right? It will backfire on you. You call them a name. They didn't call you a name. They just made a statement of fact. That is a verifiable fact. And even if you don't directly call them a name, you imply, oh, you're racist, or you imply you're homophobic, or you imply you're anti-Semitic, or whatever it is. It's kind of a boomerang effect. And it's not, we'll say, just because of this style of attack, right? You don't want to move to personal attack. That's, whatever. It's because of the truth. You can go against the truth for a little while in certain circumstances, but the boomerang effect applies and the force is multiplied. And what I'm saying is also, if you see something in the world that is the actual opposite of what you expect, likely the boomerang is in action. And I'm just going to let you know right now, the truth is the only force that does that reliably and consistently, or perhaps even at all. So if you attack somebody or condemn somebody's behavior and they get more popular, the truth is on their side and you're screwed. Don't do that. Learn from your error, or better yet, learn from the errors of others that already tried that and it had the boomerang effect, the so-called Streisand effect, however you want to frame it. That means that person you're attacking has the truth on their side and you can't. So you better figure it out real quick. So again, if someone says that this person is saying horrible things and they're getting more popular, Those horrible things just might be accurate, precise, and true representations of something you fail to see that they do not fail to see. It's a good heuristic. The reason people flip out about statements, many of which are just plain true, is because they're projecting the impact of those statements rather than dealing with the statement itself. That's how people get demonized in the world. Other people make assumptions about that true statement. Oh, Trump said, the penalty for treason is death. That's true. So what? It's always been true. It's true before you were born. Relax. Why are you upset at him for pointing it out? Don't shoot the messenger. And just because you don't want something to be true doesn't mean the other person's the bad guy, but it does mean you're the bad guy. That's what it means, for sure. I don't want that to be true. The world doesn't care what you want to be true. Truth is independent of your desires, unfortunately for you. Just how it works. It's a good tell. It's an easy one, too. No one ever uses it. I don't expect this will change that, but also something to look for. You can look for this pattern in the world and see it. Whether it helps you to become a better person or not, I hope that it does. Probably won't. Not much I can do. I'm not going to cry about it. Got things to do. Right? Just because someone's against illegal immigration doesn't mean they hate immigrants. First of all, those are two different groups. There are legal immigrants and illegal immigrants. Being against illegal immigrants doesn't mean you're against legal immigration. That doesn't make any sense. If someone does that, either they're stupid, and most likely they're just stupid. So, whatever. A lot of people are stupid. They're way below the bell curve. It's fine. Or maybe they're at the bell curve in the middle. That's fine. They're probably stupid. Or maybe they're evil. I don't know. I'm not going to take a chance. I'm going to ignore them either way, because ignoring evil is a good enough strategy for situations like that. These sorts of statements say more about the person making that accusation than it says about the person that they're talking about. Just the way it is. Once you start seeing, we'll say, the whole internet that way, and I suggest you do, things will become a lot more clear for you. Oh, this person is lashing out with personal attacks because they're indicting themselves. Yeah, that's why, pretty much. And of course, we're past all that, right? Because if you say anything about illegal immigration, true though it may be, you're immediately put into a bucket. Because we're in the age of extreme judgment. While everybody's saying don't judge, they're judging. If somebody says don't judge, I know they're the most judgmental person in the room. Every single time it works. Every single 100% of the time. Obviously, telling somebody not to judge is not going to work. And also, you have to judge. So why would you tell somebody not to do something that you have to do? Instead, open them up to the possibility, because it's always possible, that they might be wrong about something. Because then it's not about whether or not they judge. It's about proper judgment or appropriate judgment. Is it appropriate, given the information you have, to even make a judgment? That's a good question, because that would stop 90% of all the bad behavior immediately. And then, are you sure that your judgment is fair with the information that you have? Again, the penalty is death. It is. Read the law. It's not that hard. And the thing is, going against the truth has consequences. Big time. Severe consequences. And if you let that go on too long, where people can't speak the truth or are speaking the truth and are being attacked for speaking the truth, especially on the basis of future behavior not in evidence or whatever, well, that's exactly one mechanism that causes war. like actual killing war. There's no other kind, really. Culture war, sorry, no such thing. Uh, and since I'm a no on war that is avoidable, some wars not avoidable. I'm not a no on those wars. I'm a no on this type of behavior. Do you see how that works? It's simple first order basic logic. Nothing hard about it. Like, oh, avoidable war. It's avoidable. You could just accept the truth and maybe deal with it. All right. Uh seems like I'm a no on that. Right. So I'm a no on that type of behavior because that's always what it causes. It's not that hard. Not that hard. Why are people struggling with things like this? But they are. And I find that so interesting. That's what we're struggling with. We're screwed. We're screwed. If that's what you're struggling with, you shouldn't be in journalism. Certainly. You shouldn't be able to broadcast your thoughts. You shouldn't be able to write a book. No, no, this is dangerous for everybody around you and for yourself. Once you put your thoughts like that into words and you're struggling like that, it's all over. It's all over. The entire history of reprehensible so-called modern philosophy is exactly that. These people are putting their own fears, their own bad behavior, their own terrible thoughts in concrete words on a page with the intent of an audience to read them. What did you expect? Of course, they're not good philosophers. They're not even good people. If you didn't live a good life, how is your philosophy good? It can't be. Then why are you reading these people? Every time I look into one of their biographies, it's like, oh, well, of course that's their philosophy. They're taking their own personal, private pissed offness at their family or at something that happened to them personally, saying this is the fault of culture, projecting it into the culture, blowing it up, and then solving it there. But A, that doesn't solve it there. And B, it doesn't solve it for them. And C, it's not a philosophy because it doesn't account for all the other things. They're just trying to solve one little problem, actually. And pretending like, oh, this is everybody's problem, so everybody needs to fix it. That just sounds lazy to me. Why don't you fix your problems? How's that? And if you can't convince other people that to help you around that are around you, don't write a book. Be better. And the thing is, people do not see how this works at all. They cannot make the connection of creating a forgery for the ultimate good and the fact that it could just as easily and far more likely, because this is far more likely, be used for evil. Because, well, the act is already evil. You're starting from a bad place, guys. It's not that hard. It's not a mystery. Is it difficult? It's not a logical conundrum or a riddle from the Sphinx. Very frustrating. The reason for forging something is immoral, illegal or not. I don't know why I have to keep saying that, but apparently, if you're British, you don't realize this. It's because you have manifested something outside of yourself that you know to be not representative of the truth, that you are passing off to be representative of the truth. It's not obvious that it doesn't represent your personal views or your personal bias, but that's exactly what it's doing when you forge something. That's sneaky. Don't do that. It's a lie at the end of the day. It's already a lie. Even if it corresponds with another document by accident, you did not know that. When you crafted it in evil. Like for real. That's how it works. For real. Why is this confusing to people? Anybody ever, anywhere. And maybe you can't work it out in your head. Fair enough. Don't. Just take my freaking word for it. Wow. Well, the unwillingness of people to take other people's words for things is what got us here. No, some things you need to be told by other people because they've lived through it and you will never. Period. End of statement. What's your experience of World War II? Yeah, you don't have one. Have you talked to a World War II vet? I've talked to several, by the way. Machine guns don't work. Did you know that? My buddy's father, D-Day, Black Forest, in that whole D-Day push. I don't know what day. They're in the Black Forest. Things are kind of quiet. They're, I don't know, rear position, front position, whatever. There's no action. They see a deer. 5 of them open up on the deer with machine guns. Cut down half the forest. I go looking for the deer. There's 1 bullet in it. And machine guns are great. It's for suppression fire. When people misrepresent, say, the history of an entire country in a self-serving way, by leaving out a bunch of details or casting a negative as a positive, it's a problem. No, the US was not populated by people coming here for something better. I'm not saying that didn't happen. That happens in every country. People go, you know what? It sucks here. I'm going to go somewhere else. Okay, yeah, fair enough. That's kind of a universal, though. This is the sun also rises in the east and gravity holds you to the earth. Like, what other obvious things you want me to tell you? The history of the United States was born of persecution. They left people persecuting them. People within the U.S. left. How did the state of Rhode Island or the colony of Rhode Island get founded? The Puritans kicked Roger Williams out. They said, get out of here. They persecuted him until he left. And they gave him his own land and said, go down there. You can have your own place. Just draw some lines. We'll be fine. He didn't go down there for opportunity. His opportunity was in converting as many Puritans as he could. They were just not going to let that happen. They were like, screw you, get out. You're not taking our people. Get lost. That's what happened. Somebody tells you differently, they're lying and they're a bad person. And you should never listen to anything they say again because they don't have the moral fortitude to be honest about something well documented and easy to look up. History of the United States is people moving for something better. Yeah, something better. What are you talking about? Europe was developed. They left a developed nation or a developed country or a developed land, a developed town to go into the wilderness and have to build a town from scratch? That doesn't sound better. What are you talking about? Now, it may have been better for the people that did that. And that early filter in the United States is you can have whatever you want so long as you build it yourself. It's a great filter. It's a fantastic filter. Doesn't last forever. Eventually land gets filled up and we could argue about whether or not the United States is filled up. Then the parasites come in because they're parasites, by the way. Just going to let you know. Why are the real estate prices high in Boston? Because of foreign real estate ownership, which is probably money laundering, to be fair. And I'm not saying those places aren't occupied. Many of them are. I mean, yeah, the wealthy people don't live there because they spend 3 months a year there or maybe a month or a week here and a week there. Yeah, well, when you have lots of money, you can do that. But had things gone the way I wanted them to, I'd have a condo in Boston on the water right now, and I wouldn't be there right now because I'd be here because it's cold up there. So I'd only be there in the summer, and probably not all summer either. That was my plan. Perfectly reasonable plan. I would have had plenty of money to pull it off. But things didn't go that way. People looking for something better. What a load of garbage. Trash. Trash. Shame. Shame on anybody that says anything like that or defends that position. That's the other problem. If you defend something like that, you're a worse person. Why would you defend something that is obviously and easily disprovable? Why? What is going through your head? What is wrong with your brain? What is wrong with you? Why are you immoral? Why? There's no reason for that. And the thing is, the founding documents are pretty clear about the principles upon which this country was built. It was built to avoid the sort of persecution the people that came here thought they were under. If you're coming here, that should be why you're coming here, with the understanding that you're going to have to build your life from scratch by yourself if you're not from here. But the idea that in any nation, in any country, in any place at all, no matter how large or how small, that displacing the people who were here first and built something, not the people who were here first and didn't build anything, because there's nothing to displace, by the way. So if you're just all nomads running around the desert, no one's displacing you. You don't have a place. You're a nomad. See how that works? Place, no place. You can't displace if there's no place to displace. That doesn't make any sense. Very big difference. Also, the natives invited the Massachusetts colonists in. So, just saying. And they violated the first treaty. Just saying. History United States is one of fleeing persecution. To avoid that persecution, they instantiated the principles of not persecuting people in the founding documents. That's how you know for sure. It's not that hard to figure out. Or you could read a history book just once ever and figure out, oh, they came here because there was religious persecution that they were fleeing. Oh, not all of them throughout time. Obviously, the potato famine in Ireland had a lot to do with it. Were they coming here for opportunity? Or were they running away from starvation? Because those actually aren't the same thing. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, people move for opportunity in every country, to every country, from every country. Since the dawn of time, this is not an interesting fact of the universe. It's certainly not the founding of any place in particular. Oh, there's extra opportunity here. No. But we're not living in a world where people are thinking these things through. They're not carefully considering what's being said and what's going on. They're tribally supporting positions without even realizing it. And the only way that happens is if you don't have a sense of morals. Again, I'm not talking about not having morals. We're not even close to that. We're not even remotely close to that. I'm talking about a sense for morals, like what would be moral and what wouldn't. Why? Because we don't understand principle. Oh no, there's a bunch of Democrats in the Epstein docs. What do we do now? Oh, well, we rewrite the idea of ethics, saying, oh, it only matters what you do now, not what you've done in the past. Oh, really? Is that how that works? It's the fact that anybody would say that, the fact that anybody would allow somebody to broadcast such a statement, because that's actually bad. Like, I'm a pro-censorship guy. I just want the censorship to be done by people with morals and principles. This isn't a fight, this culture war thing, if you want to call it that way. I already alluded to this in my video on the culture war. If you haven't seen that, check it out. This is a bigger issue. Either you have principles or you don't. And if you don't have principles, morals and ethics aren't even a discussion we're ever going to have with you. Like, period. That's gone. Gone. Without principle. Without a set of principles, we're not anywhere near morals and ethics. I mean, if we have them, we're still not there, but at least we have a foundation. You don't even have a foundation. You're out of the race, kid. It's all over. This is bad. It's really bad. And the people protecting their bubbles and protecting their ideas of their bubbles, where, well, if we just demonize this person, they'll go away, or people will realize because we called them Hitler that actually they're bad. A, you're the moron. B, you're making it worse because the truth is going to boomerang. I give it a simple heuristic from being online my entire freaking life. Online things that are just online, even up to and including YouTube channels, that don't tell enough of the truth or far away from the truth, cannot last. Cannot, ever. There's reasons for this. They're very well understood reasons, by the way, because there's a competition on the internet, competition for truth, right? So what happens is they may get a big channel. They may grow a big channel. It may last for a long time, longer than you expect. It ain't going to last 3 years, though. Much less 5. It's not going to happen. For something that shallow, because the internet is a very shallow place, relatively speaking, it doesn't spill over into the real world to remain online and growing, you got to be close to the truth. You have to be close to the truth. Very close, in fact. You have to be talking about things that your audience has experienced directly or has observed directly. Period. End of statement. It doesn't work any other way. I've been online for decades. Every community that is far away from the truth blows up unless it spreads offline. That's a different problem. When something spreads offline, it has a lot more momentum and you can handle a lot more lies with a lot more relationship, right? But the quality of relationship online is such that you just got to stick real close to the truth or you ain't going to make it. You ain't going to make it. It's going to, I mean, it might get big, you might make millions of dollars, but you better do it in a year and a half because you'd be lucky to get that much out of it. PewDiePie's entertainment was real. It was true. It was genuine. Stuck to the truth. Sure. That can last forever. Of course it can. The truth can last forever. Yeah. I would hope so. It's not that hard to figure out. Oh, this has been going on for a long time. This guy's got a big channel. Huh, I wonder why. Yeah, go ahead, condemn him. See what happens. Boomerang. That's what's going to happen. You're the bad guy. Sorry, you're the bad guy. If you're not going to deal with the truth that someone's saying, and you're going to call them racist or anti-Semitic or homophobic or whatever, you're increasing that person's power tenfold. You're destroying your own reputation. And you're guaranteeing a backlash that you cannot imagine. Don't do that. Don't do that. I don't want to go through this again. I've seen this before. It ain't pretty. And on this scale, with as many people that are online now that weren't online 10 years ago, forget about it. That's going to spill over. It's going to spill over bad. In fact, I'd argue it already has. Antifa did all their organization online in a decentralized fashion. Everybody goes, decentralization is great. Yeah, until Antifa uses it to kill people, then it's not so great now, is it? And then they use that to legally hide. And then for some reason we let them because everyone's immoral because nobody knows what principles are anymore. Fantastic. You see what happened? It's already happened. I don't deal in hypotheticals. Very occasionally. I almost never deal in hypotheticals. You know why? Because I use real world examples. Because I don't want to talk about something that's not a real world example. Why? Why? How do you know if you're right if it's not a real world example? I just use real world examples that have already happened. And people fall for it every freaking time because, my God, those people are arrogant. Only an arrogant person falls for the same thing like 6 times. Easy way to find an arrogant person. Play the same trick on them 3 times. If they fall for it all 3 times, they're just super arrogant. It happens to me all the time. I make a claim. Especially, this is my favorite. I tell people, oh yeah, that guy's mentally ill. And they're like, you can't know that. And I go, well, how long did you talk to them? And they'll be like, oh, well, 10 minutes. And I'm like, okay. I've been talking to him for 6 months. He told me the name of his therapist, what kind of treatment he has, and the drugs he's on. And you're going to tell me I'm wrong about him having a mental illness? He told me he did. Did you think he was lying? I don't think it's the kind of thing people lie about. And they surely don't give you details like that every single time. Oh, you think I make up stories like that? Why? I don't need to. There's no reason. But hey, you want to be wrong? Go ahead. Come at me. I love it. I love it. Then I know what kind of person you are. Oh, yeah. I know exactly what kind of person you are. Oops. It doesn't play well for you now, does it? Yeah. Kind of doesn't. All right. Now you know the trick. There you go. You too can be a pirate online. Let's go through some comments. Yeah, we did the Yar thing earlier. That was great. Hopefully Anselman heard my UK story. Although that, oh my God, the more that unfolds, I don't even want to know the rest of it. Ixon, morals or ethics? Morals or implementation, ethics or ideals. That's how I do it. I've said that before. Yon God, I have a heuristic when it comes to Trump. If you think the soundbite sounds bad, then listen to it again, but in its 2 minutes context 5 years from now. That's not helpful. Anselman, don't trust the BBC. No, immediately dismantle the BBC and slaughter anyone associated with it. Seriously, like you can't let people like that. You can't have a society with people who are willing to act like that in it. I'm sorry. Like you got to remove them from society somehow, maybe jail them at very least. Like you can't let those people do that. You can't have a society and do that at the same time. You got to pick one. No wonder why you have the grooming gang crisis. My goodness, these people are like they'll tell any kind of lie for any reason or no reason at all. They don't need a reason. They just say, this is what we do. Yon God, I have a oh no, I already read that. What's this one? Dodgy politicians abolish the death penalty for treason in the UK. Wonder why. Yeah, there you go. Father Eric, amen. First principles first. Yes. Well, any kind of principles at all would do. Sally Joe's shallow net. I don't know what shallow net sounds. Anselman, yeah, heard it. Had to Google the Bashir scandal as hadn't heard. Don't even. I mean the Heretics channel and that interview with the guy who wrote the book, that was enough for me. And then just watching them struggle with basic ideas. It was like I was horrified watching it. I was actually horrified. I'm like, not only do we live with people like that in this world who are allowed to run free, but they're allowed to publish. Like, I'm glad the guy published the book, but he really thinks forgery is okay if you don't show anybody the $20 note or 20-pound note. Sorry. My goodness, this guy shouldn't be talking to anybody about anything ever. Certainly not a mass audience, like your friends, whatever, but they can go, okay, crazy person. But wow, like this, whatever. It's bad. It's bad. Look, I can't do this alone forever. So I'll just send out the link. If you would like to join, you can click on the link and join and ask me any questions about there's so many crazy things going on, but like I'm starting to get the gist of where they're coming from. My goodness. Who would have thought the BBC would be willing to lie? And when they found out it, caused somebody to go paranoid, they did nothing. And then after they knew it, it contributed to someone's death, they were still unwilling to admit any wrongdoing or make any changes or even get rid of the guy who did it. Like, this is so unbelievable to me. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. There's a big problem. Big problem. And then when you hear all the connections to people, like at the BBC and where they are now, and wow. That's what happens when you have a faulty class system that's not functioning anymore. Right? It's too bad. I mean, you need that. You need that hierarchy. You need the class system. You need people who are going to be responsible enough that when they see bad behavior, they're going to do something about it. You got to do something. You can't just be like, oh, this, that, and the other thing. Like, things have to happen functionally in the world. You can't just talk about them or point them out or look at them. That's not sufficient. It is wholly insufficient. Actions must be taken. I mean, Bashir is still potentially, at least, I don't understand the British legal system at all. If in fact they have one, I have my doubts. I don't know why he's walking free. He's potentially on the hook for forgery, and there's no statute of limitations in the UK for forgery. Okay. Or at least in England. Okay. Well, why isn't he in prison? You have the evidence of the forgeries. In Freedom of Information Act against the press, that's a weird move. Like, I don't think that exists in the United States. But you can see the UK copying the US there. Father Eric, good to see you, sir.
Good to be seen and good to see you as well. I heard things are bad out there.
It's the number of people whose bubbles are popping and they're like, oh my goodness. And I'm like, yeah, but it's been that way for 20 years. Where have you been? Like, my goodness, or 10 years or 5 years. I'm like, it's way too late.
I only heard about 12-year car loans yesterday. So
that's nuts. Yeah, that's definitely
it's nuts. Like, that's going to double the amount you pay for the car, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to make it more like a home loan. And that's because they think that that's a solution to a problem. And if you're stuck in a financial frame, like if you think economics is a valid way to think about the world, and I can assure you it really is not, then yeah, of course, that's a perfectly reasonable answer. It's logical, it's rational, and it's reasonable, but it's wrong. It's a different problem.
The correct solution to this answer is like a stripped down sedan with a radio and hand cranked windows, and like sell those for $25,000. Like, I don't know. But it's amazing to me, right? It's just amazing to me. Like, I hear about people who are in the bottom tiers of income spending on luxury goods. And that just was not the way I was raised, man. Like,
no, me either.
When I was growing up, my old man was a staff sergeant in the Air Force, and he had 5 kids that he was sending to Catholic school, right? So, things were kind of lean. They were lean and mean, and it got done. But it was kind of, like every week we would have red beans and rice for supper.
Yeah.
Because beans and rice was cheap, So it's just, I don't even know how to start helping somebody who's in that position there, because their values are so alien.
It's not even a value situation. You see how the flattening is working? And everyone's using the word flattening now, which I predicted. Everyone's going to, because it's the right word. Like, that's what's happening. The world's flattening. So they think they should live like the other half. And it's like, why do you think you should live that way? Well, this is the confusion. So like on the crypto call, even they were whining, I think it was last week. They were whining about, oh yeah, clearly, these people have bought real estate and it's empty. And I'm like, no. When wealthy people buy real estate, it's empty because they have 5 houses and they can't be in all of them at once. It's only in one of them at a time. And so it looks empty because most of the time it's empty. So different apartments in that building will be empty or full based on the time of year and what wealthy person owns it, period. Now, there are a few empty buildings that are just flat out money laundering, whatever. But that's rare because it doesn't work, because it turns out that, especially in the Northeast, if you have an empty building, you're still paying a heap load of taxes on that. Like, that's not making you any money. Like, you have to keep things occupied or you're going to lose money. So someone's paying something for the space. Now, the fact that they're not occupying the space all the time is a different problem. But people who don't have more than one house or more than 2 houses really don't understand that principle at all. Like they just don't get it. Like, no, you're not stuck in one house when you're wealthy. If you have 4 houses, you're going between the 4 houses. You're not.
Now, in Elder Scrolls 3, I had 3 houses, and I understood this, because like sometimes I was up at Solstheim, sometimes I was in Balmora, and sometimes I was at the third place, whose name I can't remember. So
And-
obviously I couldn't be at all 3 at once.
And the worst part about that is then you try to model that in the world in which you live. This is why video games are poison. I have a couple videos on this on the channel.
Right. I just
Well, you aren't modeling that because you took a better path, a higher path even. But people are modeling that. They're like, oh, I did this in my video game.
Therefore, it works in real life. Yeah,
it's unavoidable. Like you think real life works the way your experiences work. And video game is an experience. It is. It's a terrible experience and very
unless
poor.
you've got something to contrast it with, like having fired a real gun and played video games where I fire guns. I've realized that it's much easier in the video games, right?
Yeah.
Like if I wanted to get anywhere close to what I could do in like 5 minutes of practice on a video game, I would have to practice for hours, and even then there's like going to be some real world limitations that would slow me down. So the video games will get you in trouble if you don't already know how the real world works.
Yeah. Well, it's weird too. People really can't think things through. So years ago in Massachusetts, there was a case where a guy got shot by a crossbow, and the guy who shot him went to jail. Now, the thing is, your immediate assumption should be, how on earth did a guy go to jail for shooting somebody with a crossbow? The reason why is because it takes a long time to load a crossbow. And if some retard is coming at somebody while they're loading a crossbow, the odds that they're insane are about 100%. Like, I don't see any room for doubt there. So that person must have been really motivated by anger or stupidity or both to do harm to this person.
Like, I mean, obviously,
automatic let him off.
I would want to like actually examine the facts of the case. Like where was the person shot? Were they shot in the back?
No, in the front, in the shoulder. So, yeah. But your initial response should be, no, this is justified. And then it turns out that the real story is an older gentleman in his like 60s or something with his wife was driving along the highway, and this woman in tears comes screaming past them, being chased by another car. So he intervened, and that other car then basically forced him off the road. And he happened to have a crossbow in his trunk. So he went to his trunk, got the crossbow, loaded the crossbow, and warned the guy, if you get any closer, I'm going to shoot you. Now he's with his wife. And as far as he's concerned, he's also defending this young woman who drove off. They sent him to jail. I'm like, are you flipping kidding me? The judge involved in that case should be hung immediately for treason against justice and morality or something. This is insane.
Obviously, completely after the opportunity to confess to a priest, right? Just want to make sure that's in everybody's head.
Listen to Painfotainment. They had it right back then. You spent the whole day with the priest while they were marching you to your death. The whole day. You get a whole day with the priest. It's the correct answer.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So, oh man. And people on the East Coast wonder why civilized states look down our noses. It's just
Ixnon claims in video games bullets are free. Is this true?
I mean, for one thing, you already bought all of the bullets with the video game, so
yeah.
Another thing is
free. Ixnon.
It's like this was a funny thing about Doom, right? The original Doom. You've got a pistol, you've got a chainsaw, you've got a machine gun, you've got a shotgun, you've got a rocket launcher, you've got an experimental energy weapon, and you can carry 200 rounds of ammunition for each of these and run faster than anything else in the game.
Yep.
Like
totally fair game.
Yeah. This is a murder simulator right here. Like, this is going to prepare you for real world combat. Thanks, moms of America.
Well, and that was the big argument back then with those things too, which is just ironic.
It's just, yeah.
They had a point.
Sure. Yeah, they had a point.
And
they
I'm
were
not
kind of
saying
just garbage in
wasn't on
articulating
their
it.
side, but yeah, well, and also like I don't think people understood it, right? They were trying to understand something with psychology that wasn't psychological. And it's like, much like trying to understand economics and coming up with a 12-year car loan isn't reasonable. It's weird too. Like, so that video that you put on the server about the car loans, that guy's so autistic, and he makes a bunch of statements that are just wrong. Like, car companies do not make money on loans. Dealerships might.
See, now
because they have
I
multiple
remember the
loans.
video saying that dealers make money on loans. Like, that's what I remember it saying.
No, he said car companies do, and then he used Nissan as an example, and that's because Nissan has a financing arm because they were following GM. GM had GMAC, which was also involved in the mortgage crisis. And one of the ways that, yes, right. Well, one of the ways, because GM, so I think it is totally fair and completely accurate to say there were 4 bailouts for the banks, because there was the Fannie Freddie, which was $1 trillion just months before the 2008 collapse. There was the 2008 collapse with the HARP. But there was also a bailout of GMAC independent of that after that. That was because GMAC and GM were an entangled company. And one of the ways you know for sure, other than the 60 Minutes episode on the company that forged documents for the banks, which no one went to prison for, by the way, as far as I can tell, unbelievable, right? That my buddy showed me a document. He was in a fight with GMAC who had his mortgage. And they said, here's the document that you signed. And he wrote back to them and he said, let me explain to you how I know this is a forgery. A, I didn't sign that document. B, even if I had, it's unlawful because my wife co-signed everything. So if this only has my signature on it, it's not a valid legal document anyway. Oops. Now, if you go to a judge with that, they won't buy any of that at all. And I know because I did. I'm like, no, here's their letter from their lawyer. I don't know what to tell you about the rest of it. They could say whatever they want. This is what they said at the time. We do not now have, nor will we ever have, your mortgage or your note. Fair enough. Okay. Why are we here? No foreclosure possible. Period. End of statement. That's already instantiated. Nope. Judges don't care at all. Did not care. Yeah. Whatever. We're going to string this on another 4 years. And then go against you for no reason after they submit more fraudulent paperwork. Okay. I guess if that's what it's going to be, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah. And that was, if you read the Bible, you get judges who do injustice under cloak of law as usually the immediate precursor to being invaded and subjugated by your enemies. It's just like,
well, that's happening.
Yep. It's just
so.
It's funny how things haven't really changed since biblical times. Maybe that old book has something to teach us still.
No, Father, we can't go back. We can't go back. Oh, everyone's telling me we can't go back, and I'm like, have you ever read a history book of any?
I'm going back.
Any period in history at all? Like, did you read Collapse by Jared Diamond? Excellent book. Like, that's what happens when you don't go back. You collapse. You still go back. You just go back in an uncontrolled, very quick fashion. Yeah. And it's not pretty for anybody. Maybe we should go back voluntarily and carefully instead. No, we can't go back. We can't go back. We can't go back. No. Not only can we go back, but we're going back. The question is how. This is not an option for you. Things are going back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well. Yeah, should we drive out to Massachusetts and shoot these judges, you and me? Then hit a
I'm I'm
bar.
I'm all for that, and some of the lawyers involved. The amazing thing to me is that, like, even my lawyer told me, he said, "Oh, the ones that are working the mortgages, they're ambulance chaser lawyers that have just switched." And
It's
I
more
was like,
lucrative to do the
and
mortgages than.
not even necessarily more lucrative, but like that was available too. And they're just unscrupulous, so they'll take any unscrupulous job they can get. And I actually asked him at the time, and of course I remember this vividly because importance. I remember importance really, really well. My relevance realization is perfect, pretty much. I said, "Are you telling me that like lawyers know this?" And he said, "Yeah, we all know it." And I'm like, "Then you don't have a profession if you're letting people act like that and do your job and not throwing them out, and you have a mechanism to do that. Like, you're the problem, not them. And they're also the problem, but like, you're the problem. You have a whole profession. You should be throwing these people out and
You
saying,
know,
no, you can't do this anymore."
I harp on this a lot, but like I think back to the reform of the seminaries in the 1990s and the 2000s in the United States, and like a lot of that was occasioned by an apostolic visitation from John Paul II. We sent somebody to like go figure out what's going on, and an encyclical on priestly formation, and then some bishops who decided that they wanted to take controls of their seminaries again. So
Mm,
it's like, if you've only got the state bar association and like that's it,
yeah,
you don't have a lot of redundancy to like help try and course correct things when they go wrong.
right.
Because it's like, oh, what are you going to do? Are we gonna use the legal system against these people?
Yeah, you can't. Right. Well, I'm going to do the
So,
research. I
so
think
to conclude,
yeah,
like, you put people in a position where the only way they're going to get justice is with vigilantism.
right.
And
Right.
that's not a good place to be. In case anybody is asking about my earlier comments about Mark and I intended that in jest. I'm not shooting anybody. Priests shouldn't carry weapons.
Well, I don't know about that, fella. We're gonna have to
Well, we
disagree historically on that. But yeah, I mean, this is the problem. I mean, I made this point when the case came with the healthcare CEO. I said, "What did you think was going to happen?" Right? And with the shooting of Charlie Kirk, they told you words were violence. What did you think they were going to do? Like, are you really this dumb? You can't make that connection. That's a clear connection. If you think words are violence, you're eventually going to do violence. You're telling the other person that you are willing to do violence on the basis of words. That it couldn't be more clear. But like, no wonder why with the nitwits, talking about this BBC thing and writing books and having huge YouTube channels, not being able to work this out. This is a very easy, basic first order logic issue, and you don't have it. And that's like fine. I'm sure there's plenty of people that don't, but also, is anybody listening to you? Why are we allowing
you
you to be
shouldn't
heard?
be in a position of authority.
No, they shouldn't be allowed to be in a position of having a megaphone of any kind
Right.
at all.
They just
It
talk to
has
people
to
at the
be
bar.
gatekept. It
Yeah.
has to be. Well, these same people who are screaming for free speech are saying, well, we need to cancel Fuentes. And I'm like, you have a fundamental contradiction. Like, people don't realize the contradictions they have. It's like, we want term limits because we believe in democracy. If you believe in term limits, buddy, you don't believe in democracy. I'm sorry. They're mutually exclusive concepts, right? Either the limits, however the limits come about, constrain the democracy and are therefore anti-democratic, or you have democracy and people can vote the same person in for president forever. It doesn't work any other way. It's a first order logic issue. I don't know what else to say. And so, like, I just marvel at these people. I'm like, this is dangerous. You're dangerously stupid. Like, you're a danger to yourself and others if you're that dumb. And these people are that dumb. Oh, we'll forge the $20 note. It's fine. Even though we think a forgery killed Princess Diana. What? Like, what is wrong with your brain? That is not fine, obviously. The guy who did the forgery didn't think it was going to be used for evil, and yet it was. Like, what? Why is this hard? You're not going to live forever. That 20-pound note that's been forged is not going to be under your control forever.
Unless you destroy it.
Well, don't ever make it. Like, what's the purpose?
Yeah.
If you're never going to use it anyway, why have it made? It's the act of having something made without the intent of using it that's evil. Why would you put time, energy, and attention to something if it's never going to get used? That's already a corruption. You're already down the rabbit hole. Ixnon says there are 3 movies about going back to the future. I don't believe him. I think he hallucinated the whole thing. Sally Joe, corrupt justice system makes just men criminals. Yeah, well, it also forces vigilantism. Like, the thing is, justice is not an optional component of the universe, and it's not an optional component of societies or cultures or even families. So when it's not there, it builds up and gets instantiated. And that's the build up part is the bad part. That's what needs to happen. It's not, no, Mark, term limits are anti-populism. Right. Right. Because populism is just democracy when it's not going the way I expect. That's actually all it is. I've been challenging people for decades on that. Give me a definition of populism that isn't actually just democracy that didn't go the way I wanted. Go ahead. I'll wait here while you try, because I got a feeling you ain't got one. And so far, no one's had one, by the way. So just in case you were wondering. PhDs, Harvard, MIT, Northeastern, Boston University. Nope, can't come up with one.
What do they say then? Like, I understand it might be nonsense, but what do they say?
They basically say that their definition of populism usually centers around one of 3 factors. The person's charismatic, and that's the only reason they're voting for him. And I'm like, okay, but that's actually democratic. So it doesn't, like, democracy doesn't. This is the problem. It's
not intrinsically a reasonable thing. It's a popularity contest.
It's worse. This is the problem of democracy that the Greeks wrote about.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you read that. So why are you surprised? That is a feature of democracy. Now, we could argue that it is a bad feature of democracy, which would be my argument, which means the problem is democracy, not populism, because you don't have a reasonable definition of populism. Your definition of populism is democracy. Another one that they use, it's where somebody has enchanted or entranced the people, right? So it's not charisma necessarily. It's they're playing a trick on them. And I'm like, well, how would you determine that? And again, even if they are, that is still a known property of democracy. This is exactly what the Greeks were talking. Like I don't. Are you sure you understood what you read when you read that? Because I know the Greeks wrote it, and I know you read it. Look, what is wrong with your brain, right? And the third one is where they just flat out say it's a dictator within the democracy, and I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Democratic process and dictatorship are not mutually exclusive. And the thing is, this is post World War II, right? Can you make a case against democracy post World War II? I can. I'll make it right now. Hitler. It's not that he was elected chancellor. He was. They held a separate election to make him chancellor for life. Democracy doesn't work. The problem of Hitler is democracy. They are indistinguishable. Period. End of statement. I don't want to hear about democracy. That's what caused World War II.
Right. And it's really funny when you're talking to somebody who clearly, and I would say this with very theological language here, believes in democracy.
Right.
Like, I can accept, let's say, a representative form of government and elections. I can accept that's like, this is the society I was born into. I should probably participate to a certain degree in it because this is how things work. I accept it, but it's like,
Right.
I don't believe in democracy. I don't give my heart over to democracy. And you study enough history, it's like, well, the church has been able to survive and sometimes thrive under a variety of governmental organizations and situations, and you just put up with what you find there, and do the work. So it's the reason they have to go through all of these contortions is because they have democracy as a religious belief there.
Yeah.
And it's like
Right.
it's not big enough. Like just the process and the structure and the organization isn't big enough for that kind of belief. It's like a thing that you can use for good order, hopefully,
Right.
or not.
Right. Right. It's a mechanism and it's a process, and it's a process of false equality. And that was the other thing the Greeks pointed out. It's a process of false equality. It gives each person a sense that they have more power than they have. And that is used against them with rhetoric, usually, right? Back in their day, anyway, it was the best rhetorician won. And, maybe winning rhetoric is part charisma and part rhetoric. I don't know. It could be lots of components combined, but certainly that happened to them. They wrote about it. Why is this confusing for people? Democracy is a bad idea because it's based on a fundamental lie. And that's why we don't live in a democracy. We live in a republic that is informed by a democracy, right? It's built upon a democracy. And it was working fine until they built democracy into the Senate, which was a big mistake. They should undo that tomorrow. Like that. We got
to get 3/4 of the states to agree on that. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but we would need some happenings. So
the cities are going to
happen.
collapse. The big cities are going to collapse soon, and we can get anything passed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, does Fargo qualify as a big city? Do I need to worry?
No, you'll be fine in Fargo.
Good.
Midwest.
I thought so,
cities. But just Chicago. There's only one city in the Midwest. Chicago.
Minneapolis.
Oh yeah, Minneapolis and Chicago. Yeah.
Omaha is kind of teetering on the edge of being big.
Yeah, it's strange to me that it's weird that there's so many people, and that I saw this so long ago because I was in Boston and it was just part of the landscape, and I was like, you guys are all dumb. Like, this isn't that hard. You just seem to be struggling with something that's really simple and straightforward. And it's a function of this logic that you claim to care about. You don't seem able to apply the logic when it doesn't agree with your ideology, but it's pretty freaking clear. That's the problem. Like, I mean, we're already at the point where people don't believe in a straight line. And it's like, I use straight lines all the time. Like, I use straightness. It's straight. It looks pretty straight to me. Yeah, straight up. That's the only line that matters. You want to avoid that one. It's weird to me when people can't do that, when they can't understand neutrality. I'm like, what do you do about eating? Is eating good or bad? Well, it kind of depends, doesn't it? Well, then eating itself must be neutral. See how easy this is? It's not the eating that's good or bad, obviously. Therefore, the eating must be neutral.
And it's a matter, you judge it by something else, basically.
Well, things
what are you eating? How much are you eating? Do you need to eat that much?
Things in the world are neutral, right? Until they're related to other things in the world. And that's from whence meaning comes. I have a whole video on that, words and meaning, right? Like, it's not that hard, really. Like, it's very, very simple. Words have definitions, and those definitions are kind of fungible to some extent. And the way you know which definition to pick is from the context. And then that context adjusts the definition to some degree, right? And that definition fills in the context. And that's it. This isn't that difficult. It isn't that difficult. But people want to make it, really hard.
Well, yeah, because if it's easy, then anybody could do it. And we
Well, I
wouldn't
think
want that. We want to be special.
if it's easy and they struggle with it, then they look like morons. But the most likely answer is that you're probably a moron, and that's like okay. Like, we have a space for you. Just chill out. Like, what's the big deal?
Well, that's not very democratic of you, Mark.
Right. And that's because democracy and equality are interchangeable in these people's minds. Because they don't see democracy as a form or a function of governance. Right. It really is a creed of equality.
An object of belief. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a creed of equality. In order to have equality, you need democracy, because we have to be self-governing. I was like, what? Self-governing applied to the colonies as a whole, not to the people in it. That was a whole different. That's part of your confusion. You read the document wrong. That's what was going on.
Yeah. Because even in a Christian sense, your self-governance isn't like entirely autonomous. It's like it's like your virtue of your baptism, you share in the kingly office of Christ, right? Who is the King of Kings, and therefore, you look up, and he's in charge, and but you've got a certain dominion over your own life, over your own body, over what you do, and you share that with Christ. It's not somehow entirely self-determined. You don't carve yourself out of the marble anyway.
Right. No, it's interesting because that's the middle out thinking. Like, oh, the world started with my consciousness. This is like Sam Harris practically says that. Like, what is wrong with your brain? The world didn't start when you became conscious, dude. Like, that didn't happen. But people are so wrapped up in themselves, and they're so arrogant, and and then they make the stupid. Like, every single time they make the stupid. Like, what are you doing? Why are you this dumb?
Here's what I want to know, Mark, is when you say people, do you just mean people on X?
No. See, this is what's so puzzling to me. Like, for real. This happened to me in colleges and universities in Boston in the 90s. Okay.
Well, there's another filter there, but
this is why I try to explain to people up front. I'm perfectly happy to get into this discussion with you, but you need to know that I've had this discussion before with people that definitely have creds that you do not. So if you'd like to get in this discussion with me, that's fine, but I'm going to trounce you for sure. And as long as I give you the warning, I'm happy to do that and be gleeful about it. If I don't warn you, that would be unfair. So I'm not ever going to be unfair about that unless I make a mistake, which occasionally, believe it or not, I do, right? But like, that's why I'm gleeful about it. I'm like, okay, you want to play a game you cannot win, because I've already won this game more times than you've never thought about this before. I can tell immediately because I have, right? And so I know right away, well, this person hasn't thought this through at all. And then I warn them. And then they don't take the warning. And then I can trounce them and be happy about it. You go, okay, that was fun. But I you could say, oh, you shouldn't take pleasure in it. No, you should. You should take pleasure in your accomplishments that are fair. If you win a fight fairly, that should be a feather in your cap, right? The only time winning a fight should not be a feather in your cap is when you cheat. When you cheat, you should not get any sort of anything out of that. But if you're being fair to the other person, you have an accomplishment, and you came by that fairly. That you should take pride in that accomplishment. And a lot of this, like a lot of this self-help stuff and stuff that people do find helpful on occasion, because it is helpful, is telling people, take the small wins, and don't sweat the losses, because they're learning opportunities. Yeah, that one formula right there. Oh my goodness, that does so much for people. Why? I don't know. Actually, I think that's probably a side effect of the video game reality problem. but I can't really tell because I was never embroiled in that. I mean, my video games were 8-bit. We kind of knew Space Invaders wasn't real and Defender wasn't realistic, and Yard's Revenge, which was the coolest game of all time, wasn't going to happen, right? And didn't look very realistic because they're 8-bit. Like it's not that hard, right? So I always had a healthy relationship with video games, except when I was playing Quake World for a while, and maybe some World of Tanks when I was depressed and playing World of Tanks all day. But for the most part, I never got caught up in even World of Warcraft and stuff like that. So that was helpful from my perspective for me. But I think when you do get caught up in that stuff, you run into this problem of having an external system giving you your sense of accomplishment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's good for you. I think you need to know, no, I did this fairly on my own terms in a negotiation, either with somebody else or with the world. And I'm okay to take credit for that.
Yeah. That's an interesting thread that you're pulling on there. You've got an external system giving you the validation there. Just to contemplate this question, you could look at the best-selling video game of all time. You know what the best-selling video game of all time is?
Is it Halo?
No.
No. Okay. I don't know that.
It's Minecraft.
Oh, it's Minecraft.
Right.
Okay.
And this is really curious, right? Because at least back when I was playing it, this was over a decade ago. I don't think it's changed that much since then. I mean, I'm sure a lot of things have changed, but like the basic structure is that there's no end game. There's no end state of Minecraft. You're just thrown into a giant box of Legos, some of which are trying to kill you, and you build stuff.
Right.
So it's and that's one of the best-selling games of all time, or it is the best-selling game of all time. So like the rewards, the way the rewards are structured in that are much different than Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And the number of people who play it communally, like I prefer they go around with skateboards and graffiti something, the young men.
Yeah.
They're sitting inside and playing Minecraft all day, but it is less bad if you're playing it with your buddies. Maybe.
No, I don't think it is. I mean, the problem is that when you do online games, you fall down this rabbit hole. And I saw this with my friend who actually did play Minecraft. He's always trying to get me to play it. I'm like, no, bro, I've drawn the line here for sure. There's no freaking way I'm putting in that kind of time. He ended up, when he was living in Georgia, and they moved out this year, I think, actually back up to the Northeast for some ungodly reason. He ended up watching YouTube channels of other people playing games, including Minecraft, that he owned and could play.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see the bottom of that is now you're enthralled with other people doing the thing because you're so bored with doing it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the end of the world, as far as I can tell. I mean, that's the depth of... I mean, they were very, very depressed because they had run out of money and all this. And thank God they ran out of money down there and not up north, because it would have been bad fast. Yeah. So it was as bad as it could get, basically. Like, it was pretty freaking catastrophic.
Okay. Yeah. That's definitely a way it could end. The way it does end for a lot of people is, last time they signed on was 7 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, well, and that's the problem. See, this is like the people that say, pot should be legal. I'm like, well, that's great for you because maybe you have self-control, but maybe you're in the 10% of people who have enough self-control. So basically you're throwing 90% of the population under the bus, and 10% of them are going to have just a really bad outcome. for sure. Also, that you, the 10%, can feel not guilty about something you were doing before anyway. It was just a little bit harder for you. Like, that's what we're really discussing now.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is ridiculous. Like, why are you trying to redeem this with an outlier case? And then let's suppose it's not an outlier case. Why are you okay with the sacrifice of the people that don't have that experience, that don't just walk away? Why is that okay? Like, that doesn't sound okay to me.
Yeah. But it at a certain point, it does become a matter of, like, there's certain things we could look at and say, yeah, that really shouldn't be legal because there's no benefit to it at all, right? So there's that category of things.
No good can come from it.
Yeah, no good can come from it. And then there's some things where it's like, well, really probably no good's going to come from it, so we should try and discourage it. And then there's things that are be a little more mixed, and so it could be hard to find the exact boundaries of that. But yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that.
This is why Gerard is so popular, I think, right? Like, you need some engagement with sacrifice. And then you need some metric to say, well, this sacrifice is worth this advantage. Because it's how the world works. Like, you're always giving up something to get what you have. And you're always giving up a lot of things to get what you have.
I was talking to somebody who was explaining vegetables to me. And they said that the vegetables that we produce en masse are bred and grown in such a way that they're very shelf stable. Right?
Yep.
And you lose flavor and nutrition
Yep.
when you optimize for shelf stability.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So just another point in the bucket for trade-offs there.
And here's the worst part about that. So with the revolution that was sort of brought in by first Walmart and then Amazon via UPS, we don't need to do any of that anymore. Our logistics are so good, the shelf stability should not be on anyone's mind anymore. There's no reason for it outside of the military. We don't need shelf-stable foods.
I haven't looked into the question myself, but possibly, yeah, that could be correct. But it is also a lot of fun to have a garden. So
we have gardens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't recognize the place. It's totally different now. Everything's changed. Plus, we've got the outdoor oasis that I was in today because it was 79 degrees out.
Yes, Mark. Yes, go ahead.
You're welcome to come down. Fly down whenever you want. We'll get the back room ready.
Yeah. It sure would be nice if the arrangement that you now have would last forever. It seems to be working out really well for you. So
I think some things have to happen here. We'll see if they happen. But
okay, mystically happening. Just occurrences. Who could possibly predict them?
You would not believe the number of mystically happenings that keep happening right now. It's kind of unbelievable, actually. I'm getting a little freaked out, Father. I mean, I'm used to this, and I'm getting freaked out. Like, man, are things moving in strange ways now. Like today, I was talking to 2 more V's after I screwed up the Discord thing. Discord probably didn't notify me or something, or maybe it did, and I flaked out because I've been sick on and off since getting back from Ireland. But he was like, oh, let me know. And then the other interview contacted me at that point, like in real time, within 2 seconds. And I was like, oh, what? And then we settled it, and I got right back to them and said, oh, this other person just contacted me. Now I know what day I'm busy, and every other day I'm free. So yeah, it's kind of, and then the Friday I get back is going to be wild because I've got to do that and then do my live stream. So, which is,
I'll be a busy fella.
I'll have plenty of time, but I'll probably be a little more tired than normal. Hopefully there will be no incidents at Thanksgiving, which I'm not confident will happen, but always hopeful that people don't force me into a situation where I have to bring down the hammer. But That day is definitely coming. I just don't want it to, but it's coming. We'll see if it comes this Thanksgiving or next Easter or next Thanksgiving. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess.
Yeah.
I just, like I said, I mean, we're living in this weird world where people are okay, just like talking ill of the dead, and people are okay with, having these discussions about people who should be in prison and aren't, and people are okay with and just doing strange things that condemning somebody for being a vigilante. Like, why are you condemning somebody for being a vigilante? If you have vigilantes, your justice system is screwed. Don't blame them. Like, I mean, punish them because it's, maybe. Although I'm not.
So listen.
I'm not a yes on that.
Here's if you're in a point where you have to do some form of civil disobedience, then the part of that has to be just a willing acceptance of the consequences.
Right.
Yeah. So, like, if I was ever doing civil disobedience and I get thrown into jail, it's like, well, for Pete's sake, what was I expecting? Well,
and yeah, Mangione is okay with that. So, Sally Joe, Mark, people don't even believe in straight lines. They can't know how to law. Right. But they think they can. So we can't even give them the heuristic is if you don't believe in a straight line, the odds that you can understand anything about law are negative infinity, and you need to stop. And it's the you need to not do that because you're not good at it thing that we seem unwilling to do. And I know I get a lot of chuckles out of it, which is really funny because I'm actually not at all being funny when I say this, almost ever, occasionally, but almost never am I being funny when I say things like, well, that person shouldn't be allowed to program. We should put them at McDonald's and first see if they can handle would you like fries with that. I'm actually not being funny. I know it is funny, but also I'm not being funny. I don't know what their competence level is. And I think we need to start small and work our way up or down because I've seen that too. I had still a friend of mine. I think he's over in India still, or went over to India recently because he's from India, believe it or not. One day he asked me for help, and I was like, I can help you, but you need to hit exactly one key on the keyboard at a time when I tell you, and don't hit any other keys because I need time to process what happened when you hit the key, right? Like I just do that. And he did one, and then he did two, and then I said, like, hit, control something, and he did, and then he hit 6 more keys, and the screen went plop, 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 and even I couldn't read it, which, that's actually kind of a big deal. If I can read screens pretty damn fast. I couldn't read that, and I said, you know what? I'm done. I got to go do something else. Have one of your developers. Wasn't my job to fix it. I'm like, have one of your developer friends help you. And everyone was shocked. And I'm like, no, I can't. He's still a friend of mine. I was a witness at his wedding. We're still buddies, but also wasn't going to hit. I can't do it. I just can't. I'm sorry. You can't hit just one key and wait for me to read the screen. I can't help you because this is how that has to work. I'm not going to do the work for you. So, like, I'm sorry. I'm happy to take my time, but I'm not going to waste my time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and he's a good guy, and I love him dearly, but also sometimes, and some people you can't help. Like maybe someone else can help him. I'm not the right guy, and I'm okay with that. Like I can't help everybody. I don't even think I can help most people. I'm like I accepted that a long time ago, and it's the arrogance of other people who don't think that way. They think, oh, help anybody. Like we can just send them to church, or we can just give them this book to read, or if they just read old books. And I'm like, are you high? Like, why would you think that would work? It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Yeah. Honestly, this week, my dad brought somebody who's in the classes to become Catholic. Mm-hmm. And my dad frames as like, this guy's, studying philosophy and he's way too smart for me. And when I got there, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy is actually like pretty sharp. he was you love this, Mark. He was complaining about the analytic philosophy that he was studying. He's like, this is awful. I like, where did we go wrong here?
Good.
And we went and got coffee, my dad and this guy, and God bless him, right? Like, I showed up and he talked to me for like 2 minutes and then showed me his short, treatise on the questions he was asking on his laptop, which I skimmed, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, this guy's done all of the research, right? Like, I could
Yeah.
tell he's done the work. Like, he's
Yep.
put it all in here. He's using these, analytic forms that he's been giving in his
Mhm.
stupid philosophy degree, which they can lead to a valid solution. It's just, by the time you're at the university level using these tools, it's like you're so lost. You're just way off in the stars. Like, nothing you
Exactly.
do is. And so we're having this discussion about like this question that he's just not fully resolved on, and I can see that he's done the work and he's floating between Catholicism and Orthodoxy, right? And like, two solid options right there. And intellectually, he can't resolve it. Like, the intellect can't say which one of these two is more true. So I said, it's like you're shopping for houses, right? And you've narrowed, you've taken out a lot out of consideration, right? Most of them are not for sale, right? And then of the ones that are for sale, this one's too expensive, that one's too far out of town, that one has a broken foundation, that one's not big enough, that one needs too much work. You've narrowed it down to two. Both of them, your intellect says, these are houses we could do. It's got everything we need, everything that we're willing to put up with. Your intellect can't actually resolve that for you if it's between these two. The will basically has to be drawn to the good in one or the other there, because truth, at least for this sort of problem, can't solve you anymore, right?
Yeah.
And like, just because of all of the internet stuff that I'm engaged in and the education and the way my brain works, I recognize this guy's tired of his intellect going around like this, and he doesn't know how to land the plane, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my dad's like kind of frustrated trying to help him, because the only reason my dad's intellect would ever do this is because he doesn't have enough information to make a decision.
Right.
And once he's got enough information to make a decision, we land at the airport, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're having this conversation. My dad continues feeding him arguments. I could just tell. He's got all these arguments. He's really articulate, and he can make them better.
Yeah.
Like, he's heard all of this before.
Mm-hmm.
So is my dad a bad guy? Not at all, but he wasn't in a position to help this fellow.
Right.
And so he did a really sensible thing. He brought him to me, somebody who could help, because I just have a different skill set than my dad has, and
different training.
Right. And so basically, like I said, yeah, you're just going to have to pray about this with confidence that God's going to show you the right way forward.
Excellent.
Right. That's like, he's done the work. He showed me the work on his MacBook, right? It's like, there's no more books to read. Like, there's
no more information that can resolve it.
Right.
It's the difference of which house is your will drawn to as a home.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And one way to resolve that is pray.
I don't have any other tools. And that's the one I trust the most. I gave him the surrender novena and said, pray this and God's going to have an answer for you. And that was it. Yeah.
Excellent.
Here's the thing, right? Our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He's going to do a better job than I will.
There you go.
Quite confident in that.
There you go. You say, you send them up the line, the small steps, and people they're not doing that. They're trying to do large steps. And to be fair, they don't understand the problem. Like, well, I'm watching this UK guy, and of course the name of his channel is Heretics, and I'm just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's crazy, right?
When
But
G.K. Chesterton wrote Heretics, the next book he wrote was Orthodoxy.
there you go.
Yeah.
So I'm watching these guys struggle with this basic stuff, and I'm just like, they don't seem to know that this is a problem that they have. And even when they resolve it, because they did, they said, okay, well, the 20-pound note, as long as it stays in my pocket, it's okay, which is the wrong resolution, to be sure. They still can't. That's not the scenario you're dealing with. It's not the scenario you outlined at the beginning. The scenario you outlined at the beginning is the forgery led to a death. And I believe that looks like it's completely true. Like, it's totally true. That seems to be correct. But they can't go any further. They can just say it was wrong. And I'm like, you can't call for action, like people being jailed? Like, really? You can't even do that? You can just go, I wonder why nothing's happened. It's because you won't even call for anything to happen. You won't even come out forthrightly and say, this man committed forgery. He needs to be imprisoned immediately. And if you can't do that, why would anybody take seriously the idea that they need to do that? No one's told them they need to do that. They can use the law or an excuse or whatever, which ironically the BBC had been doing. They've given this guy the runaround about this the whole time. The whole time. And then the more information he gets, the more he finds out they were giving him the runaround, and they knew they were, and they're unapologetic about it, and they doubled down, and then they tripled down, and then they quadrupled down. And I'm like, are you going to do something at some point and send them all to prison? Because they need to go to prison at some point. Is it 5 layers of lies, 6 layers of lies, 12? Like, where are we drawing the line? And the answer is they're never going to draw the line, which means no one's ever going to get punished for any bad behavior at all, ever.
Citation when Jesus comes again.
That's your whole whatever. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying that, like, nobody gets away with anything ever.
I have a great deal of faith in. That's why I only pray for justice. That's all you need. Everything's fine.
Well, if you pray for justice, eventually you'll get it. So
you're going to get it either way, but praying for it's even better. I think it's like, yeah, that's where your focus should be, and then the innocent will be saved, and the guilty will not. And I think that's fantastic. I'm down with that. I'm fine with that. Like, it sounds reasonable to me. And that's the problem.
Ixnon just gotta look out for original sin, man.
Ixnon says, unfortunately, I can't arrest everyone at the BBC. Well, but they won't even call for somebody to do that. And then they wonder why no one's done it. And I'm like, did you think maybe you'd have some impact on that if you just explained to people? No, really, somebody needs to do something. You're not even willing to come out with any sort of conviction. Like his I haven't read the book, obviously, but like his thesis in the interview is pretty clear that there's mounds of culpability, knowing culpability, understanding what happened fully, and no taking of responsibility, which to me is like, then you should be able to say these people need to never be in control of or in charge of anything ever, of any, like, they shouldn't be allowed to own a cat. Like, this is dangerous. Like,
Have you ever read The Flying In by G.K. Chesterton?
No.
I'm
on my first Chesterton book. Give me a break.
Well, hey, I'll recommend it for anybody. It's not that long, and it's hilarious. So, and third point is it is remarkably relevant for England today.
Huh. Well, I've got to get through what I saw in America there, and then I sort of stalled out on that. I probably should have read it today outside, because I was outside in the oasis for a while there because it was so nice out. But then I got wrapped up fixing my my broken water tower, so which was gratifying to do some physical work. Got to do some more leveling, and then we'll set that up. It'll be glorious. We're
Well,
almost there.
I hope you level up. I hope you level up. And I'm going to start downshifting.
Downshifting. I knew that was coming.
Yeah. So anyway, keep the faith and repent and believe in the gospel.
Thank you, Father. Have a good night.
Good night.
Well, that was nice. It's always nice to see Father Eric when he gets a chance to pop in and share his holy wisdom with us. That's what I'm going to call it. He's the holy wisdom guy. And yeah. Well, young God, remember the BBC reported Tower 7 before Tower 7? I don't. Do you have any evidence of this? The Tower 7 hoax is actually really easy to understand, but whatever. What if it's really England controlling everything? God save the king. Well, if you watch my video that I did with Adam, so it's actually a really good video, The Frontier of Ideas, you'll get a sense for why that's more true than you think. And it's not about control. Control is the wrong frame. It's influence, which is a wholly different thing. It's odd to me that trolls don't understand the difference between influence and control. I think that's probably because they think they have control when all they have is influence. Probably what it is. I know it's very confusing. It's sort of like this idea. This is one thing I didn't mention in the monologue that I thought I might, but sort of slipped my brain. The socialists use a very individualistic, personal definition of power. And then they tell you that you're sort of entitled to that slice of power, instead of recognizing that whatever power you have as a single individual is going to be usurped by the power of two or more people, right? Like, it's not going to work, right? And so you don't want to co-locate power in persons in that way, right? Because it doesn't work for governance. And granted, the socialists are trying to hide the fact that governance is not optional, trying to convince you a world exists where people can just get along, even though their core thesis is that, well, people can't just get along because people are greedy. Okay, then each according to his needs, right? Doesn't work, does it? Your critique of capitalism proves your socialist system fails. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Right? That's the problem. Like, right there. It's a trick. It's a trick. It's a low IQ trick, granted. But it's very persuasive because we don't recognize charisma and influence as forces in the world. But they are. They're the most important forces in the world. The rest of this stuff is not important. Of course, the government doesn't have a monopoly on force. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's just categorically false. And it wouldn't work if it weren't false, because the government doesn't use force most often and avoids using force whenever it can. This doesn't make any sense. This is flat out stupid. And I understand a lot of people are stupid. I get that. Also, you're stupid. Why don't you focus on something you're not stupid about? Because there's got to be something you're not stupid about. Yeah. But we've taught everybody that they should be able to derive these things for themselves. And then you watch these people in the UK not being able to derive basic first order logic. They can't do it. They can't. They're incapable. And it's like, wow, okay. And look, to be fair, maybe it's okay to be a journalist and you can be impartial without being able to do that. It's possible that that is true. That's possible. I don't know. But I'm not sure I want to take a chance either. And certainly these guys are acting like journalists or whatever, and reporters and whatever. And yeah, the second interview in that is a whole playlist. The second interview is him talking to another journalist, and she's saying, "No, they're not journalists. The difference is training." I was like, "What an interesting thesis." I'm not sure she's wrong or anything. I'm just saying, like, wow. So her standard is you have to be trained to be a journalist, and maybe that's legit. Like maybe that's the best way to think about it. I don't know, but I found that compelling. Like, oh yeah, maybe training is a difference or the difference or the most important difference. I don't know. But we can't let just anybody be a journalist. I mean, Elon Musk is on X saying, "You're the journalist now." It's like, my goodness. That would be great if they could agree, but they don't. They're journalisming all over the place and using other sources instead of their own original sources because you only have original sources for things that happen in your town. Sorry, you don't have original source for anything else. Anything online could be faked. The BBC faked Trump's speech. They recut and edited the video and audio. It's unbelievable to me. I'm so stunned by this. And then they're like, "Well, Trump's gonna sue us, and you can't do that. You're taking license payers' money." And the guy who wrote the book is like, "They spent £1 million trying to stop my book from being published already." He said that like 3 times in the interview, kind of hinting, well, of course Trump would get the money. Why shouldn't Trump get the money? You're spending that money trying to silence other people's speech. Like, what? Like, yeah, he should get the money. Hello. It's unbelievable. Ixnon, reporting news should only require mimicry. Wow. From an authority, the problem is always like nobody wants to trust an authority. And I'm like, but you're never getting around authority. Like it's not an optional component of the world. Because again, you can only know anything authoritatively if you are physically there. Everything else is unauthoritative. Right? You have to observe it or participate in it directly, or it didn't happen. At least not to any standard of proof. This is why, as I said at the end of my monologue, all these people like to challenge me on the things that I say. And I'm like, have you met me? Do you think I say things without researching them thoroughly first? And the answer is, well, of course I do, but I always tell you that. I will say, this is my opinion, or I think this, or I haven't researched it, but here's how I feel about it. I use those terms. When I'm not using those terms, guess what? That isn't happening. Almost always. Occasionally I make a mistake because it turns out I make mistakes. And people keep falling for it. And I'm like, are you dumb? You're going to fall for this every time, aren't you? I love it. I love it. I like to win. I'm highly competitive, actually. It's like, I'm fine with winning. Works for me. Puts you at a disadvantage and me at advantage at the same time. The double win. Right? You're putting yourself at a disadvantage and you're putting me at an advantage. Now, there's lots of cases where you put me at an advantage and nothing changes with you. That happens too. That's fine. That's less of a win in some weird sense if you wanted to measure it that way. I don't measure it that way. It's silly, right? And I think people don't, like, they just don't understand things. They think, oh, you didn't accomplish what I think your goal should be, and therefore you lost. And I'm like, well, first of all, your goal and my goal aren't the same goal. Sorry. And second of all, if I try and it doesn't work, I still get all the credit. If I try and it works, I don't get any additional credit. That's not how it works. If people don't see that, I'm like, well, I guess you don't have to see that. Also, whatever. Sally Joe, falsely representing a world leader really is an act of either treason or war. It's an act of war because it's condoned by a government. Yeah, the BBC is a government organization. It's an act of war, right? Dirty info war pretty much results in regular war, right? Well, and it should. The good news is that we don't have to fight with the UK. We can let them destroy themselves with their immigration, which they've done a wonderful. Man, when I was in Ireland, we left Dublin, and like the night we left, there was an uprising at a hotel, and they burned like the lawn of the hotel because a very young girl was assaulted sexually at the hotel or just outside the hotel. And the Irish were like, no, you guys have to go now, immigrants. They were having none of it. But that sort of thing has been happening in the UK increasingly. And that's going to come to a head at some point. And all we have to do is just wait. That's all we have to do. Just to wait. And we have our own problems, granted, although Carl Benjamin seems to not understand how large the US is, even though he's been here before. He's like, see, it happens overnight. I'm like, bro, we got a lot of land. And if you think the misbehaving immigrants of whatever stripe are going to get away with it here, they're not. We have an armed population for a reason. And they will use their guns if you force them into a situation where they have to use their guns. In the meantime, however, we have ICE. And ICE went through Charlotte, North Carolina, and now there's no traffic. So I don't know. Could be a coincidence. They were saying 20,000 kids didn't go to school. And ICE sort of put out a statement saying, well, this just shows you how big the problem is. If they didn't go to school, there's 20,000 people that never paid any taxes that are taking advantage of tax dollars. And then you want to know why your tax is so high. Well, that's part of it. I can't be none of it. Now, I don't have any faith the government will give those taxes back if we got rid of the immigrants, because the government does not have a good track record on that. But also, we got there for a reason. Sally Joe. Islanders struggle to comprehend mainland scale. Yeah, well, they do. They do. I mean, again, the nice thing about Ireland was this, guy who was so antagonistic about guns that I had to pull out the nuclear weapon of, no, I'm definitely right, and you're definitely screwed. He did accept the argument that, no, Ireland is like the size of Maryland. And Maryland hasn't had a school shooting in 20 years, but Ireland has. And we have 49 other states. And he's like, that's a good point. And I'm like, okay. Now we can have. But he kept at it. He went after Sarah. And that's when I was like, all right, I'm going to win this argument with a nuclear weapon because now you're just pissing me off. And I basically told him, like, the difference is that our country was founded on gun ownership because we shot the Brits and they left. And you still haven't gotten rid of the English. That simple. And then he went dead silent. And I'm like, yeah, you have to rely on bombs. We just shot them all and they took off. Sorry, that happened. Like, I don't like talking about it like that because whatever. Also, that's what happened and that worked. And it was a good thing. And if Ireland did that, maybe they wouldn't have the problems that they have for real. I don't know. But I'm saying you still have an English problem, we'll say. Although I don't think that's what's going on. I think mostly it's a Protestant problem. They oversimplify things a bit over there in Ireland, I think. But it's hard to tell. Ireland's a very complicated place. And I would need a lot more time in Ireland. But I was utterly shocked that anybody over the pond would be so rude as to bring up something like that to complete strangers, who are obviously on holiday, as they call it. I was shocked. I would not have imagined that. But, maybe they're just impolite. I don't know. Politeness seems to be out of fashion pretty much everywhere. So it's, and that's why we can't get along, which is why, in addition to this wonderful text, which, should be on the store soon. We'll see for pre-order. Not this copy because this does not have a barcode on it, but my book does, and an ISBN number, by the way. Those will be the copies that you'll get on pre-order. I am working on a book with the team, of course, on manners. And that will, of course, stray into politeness because I think we need that back because we can't cooperate without it. And we're focusing on this new genre of cooperative literature, right? Where the literature is aimed at showing people how to cooperate, how to build things together, how to do things together. It's not self-help. That's dumb, Right. To the extent you can help yourself, you wouldn't need a book to do that for you or with you, obviously. Then it's not self-help. Now it's help from the book. So I have no interest in that. But I have an interest in writing books or maybe doing some courses on how to cooperate with people, because that's what we've lost. And then maybe if you can start to cooperate with people, get the basic skills down, especially skills of politeness, then maybe someday you can go to church, as Jonathan Peugeot suggests. But I think we really need those interim steps. That's what I think. Sally Joe, is fraud an illness of unnecessary complexity? An illness of unnecessary complexity. I don't know what you mean. Is it just the sickness of too much info and too little wisdom? I don't think so. I mean, I think it's a lack of principle. When you don't understand principle, you don't understand what defines fraud in a moral sense, because they were using forgery, which is a type of fraud, by the way. Do they know that? I doubt that they do, actually. See, this is one of the problems that I have, is like, I don't think people understand classes and subclasses of words. I really don't. I think that's how you get words like social justice, which is an impossible combination of words in the English language. There's no justice without society, and society doesn't exist without a pre-existing justice. Like, it wouldn't be a society without justice. Like, it makes no sense to put those two words together in English at all, ever, under any circumstances. Sorry. So I don't think they'd realize that forgery is a subtype of fraud. It's a type of fraud. But even if they did, they were speaking of it as okay until it left their control, basically. And it wasn't okay. It was born of corruption, and therefore it wasn't okay when it was created or manifested. And they don't have that conception in their head, which is a big problem. Beyond God, what if the sequence of events which occurred after the forgery led to the results they wanted? What difference does it make? No, fraud is always part of a bigger plan. Like, it did lead to the thing that they wanted. It just happens to be evil. Sally Joe, fraud, snake oil sales of the propositions. No, fraud is just a manipulation of, we'll call it, the external. Right? So again, it's one thing if I lie to you and I say Trump called for the death of all the Democrats, because that's obviously my personal private opinion that came from me and nowhere else. And I didn't present it as anything differently, because the presentation of me saying it is a type of presentation. You can say, oh, he said it with confidence and therefore he meant it and therefore it's true. But that is not the presentation. That is an interpretation. When I write on a piece of paper, quote, Trump said all the Democrats must die for treason, that is a wholly different thing, because of the quotes and because I wrote it down. If I then recut a video of Trump saying that, that is, again, a much larger crime, because you are representing something not through yourself as the truth. So if I represent something through myself and only myself as the truth, it's not a fraud or a forgery necessarily, right? Because the presentation is not a lie. When you drag the presentation into it, oh, I'm presenting you with a piece of paper with a set of quotes. I'm not saying it. I'm just showing you the piece of paper. Something went in, extra work went into that isn't your mere speech. And it went into a representation that is independent of me, because I can take that piece of paper and hand it to somebody else. And as we know from the telephone game, you can't actually do that with your words very well. And even to the extent you can, they have to be represented by another person. When I have a piece of paper, it only has to be presented once. It doesn't get represented because the presentation already exists independent of me, and therefore I can just pass that presentation around. And this is how we use the word presentation. Like, you hand a presentation to an investor, you hand a copy of the same presentation. It's not a representation, even though it's a copy. Why not? Because it's not being redone. It's not being recapitulated. It's not being done over again in a different or by a different person or in a different frame. It's the same frame because it's a presentation already, and you can just present it to people, and they don't need anything else, at least in a good presentation. So these are different levels of badness that are discernible in the world that no one's even paying attention to at all. At all. Which is why I think talking about relevance realization, to give Dr. John Vervaeke his due, is important. I don't think he knows anything about it. I don't think there's a good definition of it. I don't think there's a handle on it. But I have lots of disagreements with his work because he didn't draw the right conclusion. Ixnon, they think the forged note isn't hurting them and other people if they don't share the gnosis of it. Exactly. Right. If the gnosis is private, no crime is committed because we're living in the age of gnosis. Exactly. Well spotted. Sally Joe, sorcery of the boring administration nerds equals fraud. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Yon God, I hear the planet Earth is a PvP server, but this is video game thinking rather exclusively. Also, that's clever enough. I'll allow it. Ixnon, Yon God, Earth isn't PvP. We exist because we cooperate with God and each other. Exactly. It's not ultimately PvP. I like your optimism, bro. Well, look, the option to cooperate is there. Can't cooperate with everybody. That's where people get confused. They go, well, I can't cooperate with everybody, therefore cooperation doesn't work. And it's like, oh, I can't cooperate with the people I want, like Elon Musk, and therefore cooperation doesn't work. It's like, no, that's not how that works. Cooperation works. You have a set of limitations. Other people have set of limitations, and therefore you can't cooperate with anybody at any time about anything. And in fact, the number of things you cooperate with people is probably 0 for most people, period, end of statement. And then it's non-zero for some people, and you seek those people out, cooperate with them. It's not that hard. You're going to be disappointed, but that's what life is. Life is disappointment. But if you understand that, you can move forward. You can cooperate with people and have a great time and write a book like I did, or 2 books, actually, with the 3rd on the way. Yeah, I'm going to get on that. Probably not in December, but maybe in December. We'll see. We'll see how December goes. I've got a busy first week of December when we get back. And again, we're not going to do anything on Friday, obviously, because I'm going to be away anyway. And who the hell wants to do a live stream from their hotel room if they don't have to? That would be me. I don't have to. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not saying I won't live stream on the road. If something comes up, I might. But I won't have the fancy camera with me, that's for sure. So yeah, I don't know what Sally just saying. Administration nerd sorcery is a double crime, fraud, and being boring. Okay, awful. Okay, Sally. Oh goodness. All right, look, this has been great. I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving. You need to focus on sort of the theme that we have, like, for the channel in general, which is the world needs you, so be better. And in order to be better, the world needs you. So it's that simple. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to take care of yourselves, maybe first, and each other, maybe second, right? Don't worry about this big BBC scandal and watching the Brits not understand principles and therefore not be able to be moral actors in the world. Don't worry about that. Some of us might sort of investigate that to help the rest of you, like, not to worry about that. Just good enough to know. Gotta be careful around these people because they don't know what they're doing, and it's a little scary. So it's reasonable to be afraid. Hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving. I will see you in 2 weeks. There's a lot of fun stuff happening. Sally Jo says, take care of yourself out there. That is also true. And I don't know what topic we're going to do. If you've got suggestions, put them in the comments. Sally's right. We need you. The world needs you, right? Your family needs you. The people around you need you. So be better. Have a lovely couple of weeks.